Well, a very good evening on the 27th of April, 23. Yeah, I've kind of forgotten the dates because I think, like everyone, probably wondering why the weather's so poor, but anyway, it's not a weather report. I was up before 6 o'clock today, so I think with the weather as well, I had a few minutes on that couch, just dozing for 15-20 minutes. Well, what was it? Yeah, probably 29 minutes. Not sleeping, just dozing. Very odd because we're in the Mercury Retrograde, okay? And let me just check something, please. I just want to check exactly when the last retrograde was in 23. Yeah, thanks for holding on there. That makes sense now. I booked that trip to Egypt on 10th of January, slap bang in the middle of the retrograde, and that's why I'm sure there were so many issues involved with disruption to the travel. I've mentioned before, Mercury retrograde will give huge amounts of problems with technology, communication of all sorts, transport, mechanical issues, technological issues, just you name it, it all happens under the Mercury retrograde. I travelled after the retrograde, but it's still that period which is in the shadow of the Mercury retrograde, that's what they call it. But what happened was I was dozing there, and I kind of woke with a start. A couple of things actually. And it was about Istanbul airport again. I've kind of had a problem with this. I left Scotland on the 24th of January. My flight was at 5 o'clock to Istanbul. 20 minutes to 5 to be precise. And I think we were only delayed by 30 minutes. A 3-hour time difference. And anyway, the flight was missed to Lugada in Egypt, and I've explained in a previous vlog that I was then put up in the 5-star K hotel in Istanbul for 24 hours, which was very nice. But I didn't arrive to Egypt until the 27th of January. So in essence, I feel like I've lost a day, but I didn't. It was because of the arrival times and the changes in the clock and all this sort of stuff. And the fact that I spent 24 hours in Turkey, which hadn't been planned, in Istanbul, you see. But what I'm concentrating on is, again, is that situation with that person that I thought was a woman who turned out to be a man. And I reckon he was in his 70s because he had a trimmed white beard. I only saw this because he'd removed his face mask while he was speaking to someone. This is just not long, I mean, just literally minutes after he'd, in my opinion, stole my energy. There was a very long horizontal passenger escalator, you know, that kind of takes the strain off the legs and you put your luggage down, you know, for a moment or something if you want. But he didn't get on that, and neither did I. But there was an abundance of space in the airport for him to pass without coming straight into my path. I've looked at it dozens of times. On the way back as well, I went to the location to find out exactly what was going on. And where he came from, I mean, he had a big, long, brown, flowing coat, and he walked so quickly for a man of that age. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. This guy wasn't running; he was walking, but he was walking as though he was sprinting. It was amazing. What a speed he walked at. And the only way I caught up with him, as I say, he was stopped by someone, or he had stopped someone to maybe perhaps ask directions. I've no idea, that he was talking to somebody, and in the process he had removed his face mask. And when I eventually caught up, my whole idea was to say to him, what the fuck were you doing? You stole my fucking energy. But when I was over there dozing, I kind of thought about some passages from the Bible, where Jesus is enticed by the Holy Spirit out into the wilderness to have an encounter with the devil. So I went and looked up the parts that was meaning from the Gospel in Luke, and it's in chapter 6. I didn't write it all down, but in chapter 6, 17 to 19, verses 17 to 19, it says here, and all in the crowd were trying to touch him. That's Jesus. For power came out of him and healed all of them. This is in direct reference to Jesus now being filled with the Holy Spirit and able to heal people. Again in Luke chapter 8, Jesus said, somebody touched me, for I perceive power going out from me. So that's the bit I kind of had a recollection about, that Jesus had challenged the crowd in regards to someone touching him, literally touching him, and he felt the power being removed from his body. And I think I'm right to say that a woman eventually stepped forward and said it was her. I can't remember the whole sermon on that, but also again in Mark chapter 5, I think it's verse 30, I'm not entirely sure, but they bring up the subject with Jesus Jesus basically asked the crowd, knowing the power had gone out of him, again, who touched my clothes? The only reason I'm making reference to those Bible passages is because I actually felt I'm saying I'm a healer, or I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know. What I'm trying to say here is that I remember literally being stopped dead in my tracks, and it was like something had been taken out of me. My breath had gone. Everything just like a vacuum. Everything sucked out, and this person, I mean, when I've told you this before, came in at this angle and went that way, as quick as lightning. And that's my first reaction, was not like, excuse me, or anything like that. It was just a case of, you stole my fucking energy. That's how quick it happened, how quick I realised something had occurred. And I think a few days later I tried to make reference to, or at least when we come back to the UK, that in point of fact what had happened was this person had taken away a bad energy. But I'm having a bit of difficulty to try and establish which is correct. Was the bad energy removed? Or was my power? We all carry our own power battery within us. Because everything then has been, I've been quite exhausted. And I've been quite a bit under the weather in regards to a lot of things. Not ill, just I've just lacked the normal kind of motivation I would expect in early to mid to late spring. But again, it could be just down to the weather. I don't know. It's just something that came into my mind. I was thinking, but it was very strange because, as I said, around about the time, that it was almost as though that flight was intentionally missed by myself for some reason, so that this person would make that encounter. And then for that reason, I'll look at the positive, that he was not stealing my energy, but he was actually taking away some devilish spirit, perhaps, or something, something black magic had been put upon me. I don't know. I can't put my finger on the pulse on this one. But what I can tell you is that on the first day in Egypt, that would be 27th of January, the very first day I'm sitting at lunch, and I had that encounter with I'd seen the whole thing before. And it was awful. I mean, looking across a dining room. It's a big dining area right now, but looking across and looking straight into the eyes of a woman who's sitting across me and going like that. I know you from somewhere. And looking at her again, I think, who the hell is she? I've seen her before. And then the mind cog started to turn. I go, I have seen her before. And then I realised, and I remember very, very vivid looking around and think, oh no, I've been here before. I remember quite specifically at the point where I said, if there's a guy standing with fawn trousers at the double glass doors wearing spectacles, I'm a bit bothered here. I turned round to my right, and there he was standing exactly as I knew he would be. And then the very next stage I said, if there's a cartoon on the television just to my left up, then it was like I'd been in a dream, dreamt the whole thing, or I'd actually been there visiting. I don't know, it was so weird. And I turned up to the television, and there it was, the cartoons. No volume, just cartoons playing. I was like, oh my God. And I literally bolted. I mentioned the process. Now, incidentally, when I got back to my bedroom, as I remember, it was 10 minutes to 2 on my wristwatch because I'd left it on my dresser. And I think I made reference on the upload previously that I overcame it was like a panic attack, but I overcame the actual anxiety of it by the fact that I felt that I'd had very challenging experiences in other times in my life, and it was enough to sustain me through this little, no, it wasn't little, it was massive, really frightening episode in a strange country, and not knowing a soul, and just thinking, well, I've dreamt all this, and as I said previously, it wasn't a dream that I had 30 years ago or anything like that. It was a dream that I had just prior to being there. It would have had to have been, because I can remember the dream itself, and it must have happened between Christmas and my departure date on the 24th of January. But furthermore to that 10 to 2 thing, because I know that anyone that followed my vlogs last year particularly, there was a lot of reference to that time because it was happening non-stop. And I haven't noticed it now. It's not there anymore. It doesn't appear. It may well appear, but it doesn't get my attention anymore. So that's quite odd. But the thing that came to my mind when I was dozing I closed my eyes. I was thinking about it. And I was thinking that woman at Amalree, and probably I've missed this part, but I did mention about the owls, how she'd bring in the owls when she lived in Greece, which meant she was feeding the owls. But then she talked about the owls up at Crieff, and she had all this knowledge about the owls, and as I returned through the glen that evening, there was owls all over the place, and owls in my garden when I got home. But one thing I'd missed out, that came to me tonight, was she said to me, when we're talking about the owls, she said, you know, the owl's wings are always in a 10 to 2 fashion. I said, what do you mean? She said, if you look at an owl, it's always the wings are always held in a 10 to 2 fashion, that's why they fly so silently. And that's all she said, and I was like, and it's like, in the conversation, because the conversation with that woman from Amalree was so swift and rapid throughout, but that came to me as that must have been Lord in my mind. And I thought to myself, that's weird, because the 10 to 2 part, I mean, this woman at Amalree had constantly brought up stuff that was very present in my mind. It's I'm wondering if this Mercury retrograde that we're currently in has not resurfaced any issues. It's really going back to well, that's what Mercury retrogrades do actually. That's what the purpose of them are. I've mentioned that before actually. That if anything you've missed in the previous retrograde will come back for the creases and the folds to be smoothed out. And I think since last May we've had about 4 retrogrades. So each of the sections are now, I think, they're almost at the end of the cycle. It's all very bizarre. I mean, the biblical language is not in reference to myself, being filled with the Holy Spirit and having a power of healing. I'm not suggesting that really, but what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to draw comparisons. That's exactly what happened with, if somebody like Jesus Christ could feel that the power being taken from her, noticing enough to say, who touched my clothes? The power has been taken from me. But healed everyone, you know. So did this person with the brown coat, did he realise I had a particular energy and he wanted it, and he came dashing in? Because I don't know the religious sects that some of these people that travel through Istanbul, where they come from or where they're going. But he was really, really odd. Well, particularly because I thought he was a woman because of the coat that he was wearing. But more so the fact that I don't know, he maybe wasn't in his 70s, maybe he was like a guy who was in his 50s who had gone grey early, I don't know, but he just seemed to be, making excuses, Andrew. This guy was in his 70s, I'm sure. I wouldn't say he was any older than that, but he was so light on his feet, so quick. He had covered all that ground of the whole length of the escalator, the horizontal escalator, before I even had a chance to examine what had just happened to me. I mean, there's no one else around. He had plenty of space to walk either side of me if he wanted to, but it wasn't just a case of him not paying attention. I'm sure that's not the case, at least, that he had been thinking about something else and walked straight into me. He came in at such a speed, and then he never even said, oh, sorry. If it had been an accident, he might have turned around and made apologies in any language, but he didn't. He just, it was that quick, and it was fucking amazing. Hope that makes sense to somebody, but I'm just trying to make kind of sense of it myself. But yeah, that's the mind ticking over, sifting through bits and pieces of information. It's all stored, and that's the bit that woman said, that 10 to 2 of the owl. That was really weird, because all the owl talk that she had come out with, it was really, really strange. That was on the 12th of September 22 that happened. It was a really weird, eerie night. It was like the strangest thing I'd ever encountered. And I have to say, it was, I probably didn't give it its full merit at the time, but certainly when she came and spoke to me a few days later in my sleep, it was definitely her, no doubt about it. Crystal clear voice, exactly the same way she spoke. It was her. I won't tell you all she said to me. And then that stuff had been all over I could really make a compilation of all that's happened over the last, nearly almost the last 12 months, but